She told me I was too boring, but the guy she left me for ended up calling me to apologize for her. I used to think stability was the thing people valued most in relationships. I had a decent job as a web developer, paid my bills on time, never missed a birthday or anniversary. I thought those things mattered, and maybe they do, to the right person. But to Lana, apparently, I was just too boring. We met in college. She was magnetic from the start. Loud laugh, dramatic hands, impulsive ideas. The kind of girl who dyed her hair at 2 a.m. because a dream told her to. I was the exact opposite. Organized, calm, predictable. I used to joke that I was the Excel sheet to her abstract painting. She laughed the first few years. Then, she stopped. It didn't happen all at once. In the beginning, we were inseparable. Lana loved that I balanced her out. She'd pull me into spontaneous road trips, and I'd handle the logistics. She once told me I was her calm in the storm. I held on to that phrase like a damn lifeline, even when the storm turned on me. The last year, things started to shift. Subtly at first. She'd cancel plans last minute, say she needed more solo time, or that she was just feeling. She'd roll her eyes when I'd remind her we had dinner reservations or promised to visit my parents. She said I was always counting minutes, and that it made her feel suffocated. The intimacy faded too. Not just physical, emotional. I'd ask how her day was, and she'd answer with a shrug. I'd try to start deeper conversations, but she'd glance at her phone mid-sentence. Her laugh, once open and full, started sounding hollow. I asked her if something was wrong. She said I was imagining things. One night, after she came home late again, just drinks with. She sat on the edge of our bed and stared at the floor. I remember the silence more than the words. When she finally spoke, her voice was flat. "You're not a bad guy, okay? I feel like I'm dying in this. Every day feels the same. You do everything right, but it's like there's no spark, no chaos, no passion. I can't breathe more." I didn't know what to say. I asked her if there was someone else. She scoffed. Of course not. God, why is that option? 2 weeks later, she moved out. Said she needed space. Her stuff was gone by the next morning. Counter. I hope you find someone who. I didn't cry that day. I just sat on the couch staring at the imprint her legs had left on the rug. I kept trying to pinpoint where I went wrong. Was I really that dull? Was caring deeply now a flaw? A week after she left, I saw a photo. My friend Josh sent it. Dude, that Lana? She was at some rooftop bar, clinking glasses with a man I'd never seen before. Her hand on his chest, her smile effortless. The caption read, "Finally live." My stomach dropped. I stared at that post for a long time. I didn't just confusion. She'd only been gone 10 days, and yet here she was, glowing, with someone new, while I was still picking up pieces of myself off the bathroom floor every morning. I tried to stay composed, told myself maybe they just met, maybe it was casual, but I'm not stupid. Lana never did anything halfway. She dove in headfirst, relationships included. I just didn't realize she'd been preparing her exit while still with me. That night, I opened a bottle of whiskey I'd gotten as a gift but never touched. I wasn't much of a drinker, but silence was starting to press against my chest like a weight, and I needed something to drown in. For weeks, I scrolled through her new life like a masochist. Pictures, captions, comments. Her new boyfriend, Tristan, was everything I wasn't. Tattooed, loud, spontaneous. He owned a bar downtown and posted shirtless selfies with cryptic captions like, "Live now, regret later." He had 80,000 followers and a million fire emojis in his comments. People called them power couple. Meanwhile, I was still trying to remember how to sleep without the shape of her body next to me. I thought about texting her, just to ask why, just to understand. But every time I opened the chat, I remembered her laugh. I can't breathe. That was what I was to her, a slow death. The worst part wasn't even losing her. It was how invisible my pain felt, how everyone else seemed to move on. Our mutual friends drifted toward her, probably because she was louder, more fun. They still liked my posts out of guilt, but no one asked how I was doing. So I started pretending I was fine, posted some pictures from the past, took my laptop to a co-working space just to be around humans, smiled at the barista even when I wanted to scream. Then came the night I saw them in person. I was walking past a downtown gallery on my way to get takeout, and there they were, on the sidewalk, laughing. She looked radiant. He looked drunk. She leaned into him, whispering something. He threw his head back and howled like a teenager. She looked up and saw me. For a second, her face faltered. Her lips froze, smile half-formed. I nodded politely, more instinct than intention, and kept walking. My food tasted like cardboard that night. That was the night I finally stopped blaming myself. Because I realized something. She didn't leave me because I was boring. She left me because she didn't know what to do with someone who actually loved her without chaos. But I still didn't know the whole truth. Not yet. The day after seeing her with him on the street, I deleted every photo of Lana from my phone. Not out of spite, just necessity. Keeping those pictures was like keeping shards of brass in your pocket. Every accidental touch hurt, and eventually, you had to choose whether to bleed or let go. I wish I could say I moved on quickly, but grief isn't a straight line. It's a damn spiral. Some days, I woke up feeling almost okay, convinced I'd turned a corner. Other days, her laugh would echo in my head so loudly I couldn't focus on anything. That's when I started therapy. It was awkward at first. My therapist, a quiet woman named Dana, asked questions I didn't want to answer. She didn't push, just waited. I hated that. Eventually, I cracked. Told her everything. The way Lana made me feel like I wasn't enough. The way she lit up for everyone else but dimmed around me. Dana didn't offer platitudes. She didn't tell me I was amazing or that Lana was evil. She just listened to things I didn't expect. You didn't lose her because you were boring. You lost her because she mistook peace for... That's not your burden. That line sat with me, so I made a list of all the things I used to enjoy before Lana started picking them apart. Long walks with headphones. Cooking elaborate meals for no reason. Watching old science fiction movies. I started doing them again. Quietly, privately, for me. I signed up for a hiking club, joined a gym, even enrolled in a creative writing course online. I wasn't trying to become someone new. I was trying to remember who I'd been before her opinions became gospel. Months passed. One night, after class, I posted a small blog entry to the girl who called me boring. It was just a stream of consciousness letter to no one in particular. Honest but not bitter. More of a reflection than a rant. I didn't expect much, maybe a few clicks. By morning, it had over 20,000 views. People messaged me. Strangers, men and women. They shared their own stories of being too much or not enough for someone who never really saw them. One guy wrote, "Bro, thought I was the only one. Thank you." A woman shared, "You're calm, crave, but don't know how to hold." I sat there, staring at the screen, realizing I'd spent so to justify who I was to one person. And here were hundreds telling me I made them feel seen. That same week, Anna's sister Talia at the grocery store. We'd always gotten along, though we hadn't spoken since the breakup. She looked surprised but happy to see me. "Wow, you look good," she said. "Thanks." "Trying," I smiled, not really knowing what else to say. She glanced around and lowered her voice. "You don't know the half of it, do you?" I raised an eyebrow. "The half of what?" She hesitated, then shook her head. "Forget it. I shouldn't say anything." "No, Talia. If there's something I should know?" She sighed. Lana was already talking to Tristan before she left. "I'm sorry." I told her it was wrong. She said it wasn't physical yet, so it didn't count. But the emotional part? That was already happening. For weeks I should have felt angry, betrayed. But all I felt was clarity. A final puzzle piece clicking into place. It explained the way she stopped looking me in the eye. The guilt I sensed but couldn't prove. Talia touched my arm. "I don't think she's happy, by the way. She keeps bouncing between drama and silence. Mom says she's been f***ing with Tristan a lot. He's not what she thought." I nodded, thanked her, and walked out with a weird sense of peace. It wasn't justice, but it was something close. I kept writing. More blog entries, more reflections. Somehow, people kept coming back. My small blog turned into a site. I started getting invited to speak on podcasts, join panels about emotional resilience and heartbreak. I wasn't famous, but I was finally seen. Then came the call. It was a Thursday night. I'd just gotten back from a jog, sweaty and tired, when my phone buzzed with a number I didn't recognize. Normally, I'd let it go to voicemail, but something told me to pick up. "Hello?" There was a pause. Then a man's voice. Hesitant. Deep. "Hey, is this Aaron?" "Yes." "Who's this?" Another pause. Then, "It's Tristan. Lana's, well, I guess ex now." I froze. He cleared his throat. "Look, I know this is weird, and maybe I have no right, but I needed to say something. Been meaning to call for weeks, but didn't have the guts." I sat down on the edge of my couch. "Okay." He exhaled, shaky. "I want to apologize. For everything. I didn't know the full story when I met her. She told me you were this lifeless, clingy guy who smothered. She painted herself as trapped with someone who didn't get her. And I believed it." My throat was dry. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because I get it now," he said. I thought she wanted passion. Turns out she wanted chaos. And when I did about everything, she cheated on me. Multiple times. Told people I hit her. I didn't. I stayed quiet. Let him talk. I read your blog. I didn't know it was you at first. But then I recognized the story. I felt like an idiot. You didn't lose her. You dodged her. I didn't know what to say. She said you were boring, he continued. But if that's boring, I wish I was more like you. You've got integrity, calm, honesty. She feeds on volatility. I just wanted you to know. You weren't the problem. I stayed on the line, listening to him breathe on the other end. The silence between us felt strange. Not hostile, not awkward, just heavy. Like we both knew we were part of the same twisted equation now, each of us on the other side of a lie. I appreciate the call, I finally said. Honestly, you didn't have to do that. I did, he replied. I needed to. I didn't press him for details. He sounded exhausted, like someone who had just walked away from a burning house with nothing but the clothes on his back. Before he said, if she ever tries to come, don't let her. I mean it. She doesn't miss people. She misses control. Those words echoed for days. For a while, I felt strange. Not vindicated exactly, just sober, like I had stepped out of a fog. I kept replaying the months I'd spent twisting myself into emotional knots, wondering what's wrong with me, when the truth had nothing to do with me at all. She didn't want peace. She wanted someone to blame when the fire went out, and I had carried that blame, like an idiot. The next few weeks felt lighter. My work improved. I had more energy. I started sleeping through the night again. I took a trip to Colorado with some friends I'd writing circle. People who knew me not as Lana's ex, but as the guy who wrote that piece about being called boring. One night around a campfire, a woman named Jess, funny, sarcastic, sharp, asked me, "So are you really boring, branding?" I laughed. A real laugh. I guess it depends on your definition. I like quiet mornings, coffee, books, walks, deep conversations, stability. If that's boring, then yeah, I'm the most boring guy alive. She smiled. Sounds like heaven, honestly. The world's exhausting enough. That stuck with me. I came back from that trip with a sense of clarity I hadn't had in a long time. I didn't need to prove anything to Lana, or Tristan, or anyone, really. I wasn't some half-formed version of myself waiting to be fixed or upgraded. I just needed to stop shrinking to fit people who couldn't handle real. I thought I'd left it all behind. Until one random Tuesday afternoon, I got a message on Instagram. It was from Lana. Just one line. Hey, can we talk? My heart didn't race. My stomach didn't drop. But I did stare at the message for a good 5 minutes. She hadn't messaged me since she left. Not once. Not after the rooftop photo. Not after I unfollowed her. Not when the blog went viral. Nothing. I didn't answer right away. A day later, another message came. I just wanted to explain. I think I owe you that. I wasn't sure what I wanted to hear. Maybe part of me expected an apology. Or some confession. Maybe I wanted to hear her say I mattered. I asked Dana, my therapist, if I should reply. She tilted her head and said, "Do you want closure from her to close the door yourself?" I didn't answer at the time, but the question haunted me, so I messaged Lana back. Sure, Sation. That's all. We met at a coffee shop halfway between her old apartment and mine. Neutral territory. She walked in wearing a long coat and sunglasses like she was trying to hide. Her energy was different, smaller. Not the magnetic, chaotic Lana I remembered. More like someone trying to wear her old skin, but it didn't fit anymore. She sat down quietly. No hug. No, just, "Thank you for meeting me." I nodded. Waited. She looked at her coffee. I don't really know where to start. Maybe at the truth, I said calmly. She flinched. Right. Okay. I know I hurt you. I was selfish. I justified it to myself by telling everyone, including me, that you were holding me back. That you didn't get me. But the truth is, you were, and I was terrified of what that meant. I said nothing. Let her keep going. I thought passion meant chaos. That being alive meant adrenaline. Tristan felt exciting at first, like a drug. He said all the right things. He made me feel seen, at least in the beginning. But he didn't love me. He loved the version of me I showed on Instagram. Did you love him? I asked. She hesitated. I loved the way he made me feel. Which isn't the same thing. I sipped my coffee. Why reach out now? She took a long breath. Because you were the only person. I thought safety was boredom. I was wrong. I looked at her then. Really looked. She wasn't glowing. She wasn't radiant. She was tired, makeup barely hiding the bags under her eyes. Her fingers trembled slightly as she clutched her mug. "You hurt a lot of people, Lana," I said softly. "You don't just get to hit reset because you're lonely." Her eyes welled up. "I know. I'm not asking for anything. I just wanted you to know. I see it now. And I'm sorry. For everything." I nodded. That was all I needed. As I stood to leave, she asked, "Do you ever think about—" I paused. "Sometimes, but only to remind myself what I won't accept." That was the last time I saw her. There was no dramatic goodbye, no hug, no lingering glances, just the quiet sound of a coffee cup being set down and a door gently closing behind me. It's strange how peace feels so foreign after chaos. For months, my life had been shaped by what Lana said, did, or didn't do. My moods followed the patterns of her attention, like weather tied to someone else's forecast. But after that last coffee shop meeting, the fog lifted. Not suddenly, not with fireworks. Just quietly. There was no closure balloon. No cinematic moment of empowerment. I walked home, made dinner, and listened to a jazz playlist while chopping vegetables. That was it. No tears. No backsliding. It was the first time I realized I didn't miss her. I missed who I thought she was. A week after we talked, I got an email from a podcast host. They'd read one of my blog posts, "The Lie of Being Too Much or Too Little," and wanted to interview me. I hesitated. I wasn't a therapist, just a guy who got dumped and started typing. But then I remembered how I used to be afraid of taking up space, of being too quiet, too slow, normal. So I said yes. The interview was surprisingly smooth. They asked about Lana, but I didn't name names. I spoke about patterns instead. How emotional instability can be mistaken for passion. How some people chase novelty because they're terrified of being truly seen. The host called it "profound." I laughed, because that was the first time anyone had ever used the word profound in a sentence with me. Things snowballed after that. A few articles, a guest column. My subscriber count grew. I got invited to contribute to a mental health panel. I wasn't trying to be a guru. I was just telling the truth, my truth. And for some reason, it resonated. Jess, the woman from the campfire, reached out again. She'd read my latest piece and said it made her cry on a Tuesday morning in her office. We started messaging, not flirting, just talking. It felt real, like something rooted instead of reactive. We grabbed lunch a week later. No pressure, no sparkly nonsense. Just tacos, dumb jokes, and a shared annoyance at a guy playing YouTube videos on speaker at the next table. Afterward, she texted me. That was surprisingly normal. In the best way. I smiled at the screen for a long time. Meanwhile, Lana kept trying to crawl back into orbit. She didn't message again, not directly, but I noticed she started following me on social media. Liked a post here and there. Commented once with a simple, "Clap well said." I ignored it. Then she sent me an email. Not long. Just a few lines. "I'm glad to see you doing so well. Truly. I'm sorry again for how I left things. I know I don't deserve it, but I do hope you're happy." I didn't reply. Not out of anger, because I had nothing else to say. She wasn't the villain anymore. Just a broken person who couldn't carry what I offered. And I had no desire to shrink myself again to fit into her idea of passion. Jess and I kept seeing each other. Slowly. No grand declarations. Just consistency. She asked questions and actually listened. When I told her I hated loud nightclubs but loved quiet bookstores, thank God, same. We'd meet on Sunday mornings for coffee and sit in the same booth. No need to perform. No need to prove. One night, months later, we were watching a place when she turned to me and asked, "Do you think it's the worst thing she did to you?" I thought about it. "No," I said. "The worst thing was making me believe it." Jess nodded. "But you don't believe it anymore, do you?" I looked at her. The flickering light of the screen danced in her eyes. My living room smelled like fresh popcorn and the lavender candle she'd insisted on lighting. I said, "I don't." That night, after she left, I sat at my desk and wrote a post I hadn't planned. I titled it, "An Open Letter to the Man She Chose Over Me." It wasn't bitter. I wrote, "You didn't take her from me. She was already gone. And when she came to you, she brought the same storm she left with. I don't hate you. I understand you. You thought you were the prize. You thought her chaos meant magic. You believed the same story I did, that love meant noise. But I've learned love is not volume. It's depth. It's someone who stays when the adrenaline fades. Someone who sees your stillness as strength, not stagnation." She called me boring. But boring never felt this good. The post exploded. Thousands of shares, emails, people tagging their exes. Some thanked me. Others said they cried. A few said they printed it and stuck it on their fridge. One guy messaged me. This made me call my dad for the first time in years. I wanted to thank him for being boring. That hit me hardest, because that's all I'd ever wanted, to build something that lasted. And for the first time, it didn't matter who had left me. It only mattered that I was still standing. A few months after that post went viral, something strange started happening. I began hearing from people who knew Lana, some directly, some tangentially. A guy who used to work at the same PR firm she did. A mutual friend I hadn't spoken to in over a year. Even a girl who said she'd gone on 2 awkward dates with Tristan before he and Lana became official. Each of them shared different parts of the same story. She was unraveling, not in a sensational way, no tabloid drama or public meltdowns, but in the quiet, everyday ways a person falls apart when their identity is built on borrowed adrenaline and borrowed people. She'd been fired from a freelance contract after missing multiple deadlines. Her Instagram had become inconsistent, less glam, more erratic. She'd posted a cryptic story that said, "Maybe some of us aren't built for peace," followed by a blurry photo of a half-packed suitcase. The part of me that once would have rushed in to save her, that part was silent now. I felt empathy, sure, but not responsibility. It was nearing fall when I saw her again, completely by accident. I was walking through the city market one Saturday, a tote bag slung over my shoulder, coffee in one hand, when I turned a corner near the spice vendor, and there she was, Lana. She looked older, not in years but in weight, like someone who'd been carrying too many invisible things for too long. Her eyes widened when she saw me. For a split second I thought she might turn away, but she didn't. She walked toward me slowly, almost cautiously, like approaching a "Hey," I replied, keeping my tone even. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "You look good." "Thanks." "You too," I lied. We stood in silence for a second. I could smell cinnamon and roasting nuts from a nearby stall. The sounds of chatter and clinking cups buzzed all around us, but I felt strangely calm, like watching a memory in real time. She glanced at my bag. "Doing some shopping?" "Yeah. Jess loves to cook. We're making dinner tonight." Her smile flickered. "Jess, is that your girlfriend?" "Yeah." There was a brief pause. She nodded slowly, the words sitting between us like a stone. "I'm happy for you," she said, and for a moment, I almost believed she meant it. Then she added, "You always were the kind of person people eventually realize that." I didn't respond right away. I just looked at her, really looked. There was a time when that sentence would have unraveled me, made me desperate to ask, "So why didn't you see it when it—" But not anymore. Now, it just sounded like someone trying to rewrite their own ending. She broke the silence again. "Do you ever think of—" It was almost the same question she'd asked me during our coffee shop meeting. But the tone was different this time. Less nostalgic, more regretful. I thought about the nights I'd spent wondering what I did wrong, the weeks I starved for answers, the months I rebuilt myself from the inside out. "I used to," I said, but only to remind myself how that answered gently. She blinked a few times, then looked down at her shoes. "Tristan and I didn't work out," she said, almost as an afterthought. I nodded. "I know." Her head snapped up. "You know? He called me. Months ago." She froze. "More than you probably wanted him to." Less third. She didn't push. I think she knew better. I could tell she wanted something. Maybe forgiveness. Maybe just another chance to feel relevant in my life. But I had nothing left to give her. Not anger. Not admiration. Not even the ache she once fed on. "I hope you're okay, Lana," I said gently. She looked at me. And for the first time, I didn't see the version of her I'd loved or hated. I just saw a person. Flawed. Confused. Human. "Take care, Aaron," she whispered. And then she walked away. I didn't watch her go. I just turned back toward the spice stand, asked for a handful of star anise, and headed home. That night, Jess and I made butter chicken from scratch. The kitchen was a mess. Flour on the floor, spices on our sleeves, music playing softly in the background. At one point, she caught me watching her, a small smile playing on my lips. "What?" she asked. "Nothing," I said. I used to think excitement meant drama. Now I also look like this." She tilted her head, amused. "Butter chicken and—" "Exactly." She kissed me, and the moment felt so full, so solid, it almost brought me to tears. I wasn't boring. I was finally free. 6 months after that last encounter with Lana, I stood behind a podium in a small community center in Boston, facing a modest crowd of about 50 people. It was a wellness event focused on emotional recovery after toxic relationships. I wasn't a therapist. I have letters after my name. But somehow, my blog had resonated enough that people wanted to hear me speak. I opened with a say out loud. She told me I was too boring. But the man she left me for ended up calling me for her. That got a small laugh. Not mocking, just knowing. Like everyone in the room had met their own version of Lana at some point. I told them the whole story. The way I shrunk. The way I tried to bend myself into someone else's idea of desirable. The endless mental tug-of-war between what did I do wrong and what if I'm just not enough. And then truth I learned the hard way. If someone needs chaos to feel alive, your peace will look like death to them. But it's not. It's the never be able to touch. Afterward, a young guy approached me. He looked like he was barely out of college, hands trembling as he tried to shake mine. She called me a ghost, he said quietly. Said I was invisible. And I started to believe it. But after I to the guy she chose over you, I realized I'm not the ghost, the only real one she ever met. I smiled and said, sounds like something you should write down. He did. Later that night, he posted a piece titled, Ghosts Don't Cry, Stop Haunting the Wrong Houses. I shared it on my page. It went viral in 2 days. That was the thing that kept blowing my mind. How many of us had been called boring, too quiet, too much, too little, somehow never just right, and how deeply those words stuck, carving their way into our self-image like graffiti no one asked for. But I had learned to repaint. Jess and I were living together by then. Nothing flashy. A 2-bedroom apartment with a bookshelf I built myself and a dog we rescued named June. She still teased me about how seriously I took my morning routine, and I still smiled every time she danced around the kitchen in fuzzy socks. We weren't perfect. We argued about dumb things like where to hang the string lights or how many plants were too many. But it was safe, steady, ours. Sometimes she'd read me pieces people sent. Poems, open letters, heartbreak monologues from readers who'd found my site. One night, after she finished a particularly raw piece about a girl trying to rebuild herself after a decade of a... Jess looked at me and said, people you've helped just by telling the truth? I just wrote what I needed to hear. My forehead. Exactly. One evening, we hosted a small dinner with a few close friends. Good food, wine, background jazz. Someone brought up relationships, and the topic eventually circled around to breakups. Glanced at me, raised her wine glass. Aaron's ex once said he was too boring. The table chuckled. I smirked. And now I'm boring with a steady job. A dog who won't stop stealing socks, who laughs at my grocery store dance moves. You forgot, Jess added. Boring is the most beautiful thing in her life. They all awed. I rolled my eyes but felt the warmth in my chest grow. I'd never been praised for being consistent, or grounded, or emotionally available. But in the right relationship, those qualities weren't just tolerated, they were treasured. That night, after everyone left, I opened my laptop and started typing. To the person who's been called boring, they don't mean boring. They mean calm, and they don't know what to do with calm. They mean honest, and they're scared of truth. They mean stable, and they crave the highs and lows of a roller coaster they don't know how to get off. You are not boring. You are safe. And in a world that thrives on performative noise and highlight reels, your silence is not a flaw. It's a gift. Don't trade it for someone who only wants the fireworks but not the fire. I clicked publish, shut the lid, and went to bed. In the dark, Jess rolled toward, still half asleep. Did you write another one? Yeah, I whispered. She smiled, eyes still closed. I want to read all the boring things you had to say. And with her head on my chest, the dog curled at our feet, and the silence between us comfortable and full, I finally understood what it meant to be truly seen. Not for what I could perform, but for exactly who I was. And I wouldn't change a damn thing.